people who start using test automation, end-to-end test automation, and the struggles that they see, and the first steps. So first of all, I would like to let's give a big thanks to this Selenium camp. It's amazing. So great organizers, great conference already starting. So thank you, everyone. So as I said, my name is Oren, and yes, every day I have a bad hair day, and that's the first testing I do. Instead of just rushing to production outside, I look at the mirror and say, "Oh no," and go back. And uh, so I'll start. Does anyone know the difference between in theory and in practice? And well, the thing is that in theory it's basically the same, but in practice it's not. So there's a big difference with what people would want software to be and the result. So as I was saying, software in theory is something very, very pretty, it's everything very, very simple. Say, oh, all I need to do is write a small apps that does this and that. But we all know that after 3 months, it turns out to this. It always happens. So it's everything starts so nicely, and a week later, it's a hellish. So, so first of all, let's do about just a quick questionnaire. Who here writes code for over 10 years? Who here writes code from over 5 years? Now keep your hands in the air. Who here writes code for over 2 years? And who, this is his first year? Now, everybody raise their hands and give high five to the one next to you. So, so yeah. Now, this is a good opportunity. I think, first of all, this is, you come to a conference, the best thing in conference is not the silly lecture with the funny hair, funny voice. So it's getting to know each other. What the first thing I want to do is everyone talk to the run next to you that you don't know. Just say your name and where you work. Just for 1 minute, just say hi. My name is, and that's what I do. So really, do it. That's the most important thing you have to do in a conference. Come on, let's do it for 1 minute. Oh, this is great. But no, seriously, yeah, but that's it. Now that's it, and now we're gonna get started. But you remember those guys and gals, and you continue these conversations afterwards, or even in the middle of my talk, because it's not that interesting. So you can continue talking. And so I want to start for those people who don't know the jargon. What's the difference in between all those funny words everybody keeps talking about? So a software is always comprised of small units that people write, and that's why it's so good because everyone writes something, and then you put it together, and you get something great. So you can unit test, which means each unit separately. You can integrate few components together, few units, and you get integration test. You can have the whole end to end. You can only check that it's functional. That if you put the username and you click the login, you go to another page. That's not just that's functional testing. You can check for memory, performance, how much time did it take. So there's different types of testing. Smoke testing, that means you want to do the minimum amount of testing to make sure nothing's burned, so hence the smoke. And of course, when you want to go to production, that's called the acceptance stance. You says, okay, I've checked everything I wanted, and now I'm ready to go. So what we're going to talk about is how you move from what people are accustomed in unit testing, or what specifically in Selenium, all the what when you ended up writing end-to-end testing. So writing black box is usually when you have a specific API, you test using that API. That sounds like it's simpler, right? Check the API, not go and like unit testing when you try to check the small ifs and loops and try to have like 100% code coverage. Um, so in theory, it sounds that it's easier to do a black box. Black box, it means you check it as you have a DVD, it has a stop, play, and a pause, that's it. And white box means more like transparent box, means you look inside and you know the developer did an if over there. If x equals bigger than 5, then you'll have 2 tests. So there's a lot of edge cases there, but usually, so it's white box is much harder to maintain. But when you find out, when you look in the industry and you see that most of the tests right now are done on unit test more than integration, which is a little bit awkward because if you write a very small test, like if Google did a small test of logging in and just sending themselves an email and checking the email, they probably would like a code coverage of 30% in 1 minute. So why most people do unit tests? Why makes unit tests simple other than end to end? End to end sounds great. Unit tests, of course, gives you unit tests give you better code, which is great. And it gives you the who to hang script, which says, oh, that failed right now. This unit, this is your code and you're responsible. But I had the 100% unit code coverage, and I still had bugs. So unit test isn't enough. And actually, so what that ugly thing shows you, that usually when the granularity, when you start doing unit testing, you know exactly what went wrong, but it takes you a lot of more time to write all those tests. You need a lot of more coding to get started. So what's wrong with end-to-end testing that doesn't anyone who gets started, why doesn't it use end-to-end test and then just add a little more unit tests as it goes along? So what it seems that we'll see, unit test, it means you're choosing one unit to test, but actually you have things like if you're talking about web, CSS, for example, it's not talking about specific unit. You have CSS, which is cross-cracking, and it changes a lot of things. And you can have each component great, and you put them together one side by another, and then you'll get things that aren't that great. And when you look at, even if you talk about unit, it's not usually talk about the behavior, the JavaScript part. But that's not all we test. This is real bugs. This is real bugs that people have. This is the flying pony from accident from Google they had, and this is from SAP that someone changed the CSS from 1,000 pixels to 100 by accident, and you have all these hidden, and these are real bugs. So unit testing and end-to-end is not the same. So everything is, in theory, it's the same. You start up, you do a setup, you start writing your test. This is the setup. Let's do a login. And the second phase is you do the stimuli. Let's do an action. And in unit case, we'll call a method, and let's do the login. And then we'll try to validate that we're in the correct step. So it looks pretty easy. So in end-to-end, we'll open a browser and we'll navigate to somewhere, and then let's put the username and password, and we'll click the login, and then we'll do the validation. So it sounds pretty and sounds simple, but then you take the hello world, which is you open a browser, and then you go navigate, and then you find something, and you add some keys, but then you write the validations, and it doesn't work. So what? So the first thing you see in when you write end-to-end testing, it's the asynchronous part. Things are asynchronous because you're not, if you're not mocking stuff, most of the time things users do, it takes time. So the first thing is that it's not the same language. Now you have to open a browser. You don't have to just call a new account. It's much harder because it's a whole, usually it's even not just a DSL, a domain specific different, you have to do a lot more, but it's a different language. Usually you might not know. So it's getting better. You have Selenium that supports all the languages you want. So if you know specific language, use it. And so we'll see about the synchronous parts and the easy setup, and we'll see how to run through that. But you'll see that because of the setup time in unit test, it takes like 2 milliseconds to do something, to start a new test. And so the tests are very, very short, and you usually pinpoint what you want to test. So you have thousands of tests, pinpoint everything. When something fails, you know exactly what line caused it. So, but in end-to-end test, opening a browser on a new VM can take a long time. So you don't want to have a very, very, very short test, which is, in theory, that's great. So, but in practice, people have longer tests, which does a lot more. So what they do eventually is writing end-to-end tests. You do like user scenarios. If you're familiar with agile programming, you take a user story and you actually write the entire user story, the test. You don't know exactly what happened, what went wrong, and you don't know when something fails. You don't know exactly which unit does who to hang. But the nice part is, if it works, it works. It means everything's okay. So let's talk about the synchronous part. And first of all, does anyone here knows what page objects, using page objects? Which is great. So because we're gonna use the page object design pattern, which is page object means go back and don't use Selenium code in your test. You should write, the test should be splitted to two things. Let's see if I have it right here. Your test should actually your test should actually be same as unit tests. There should be synchronously. There should be business logic. This is you right here. There's no Selenium right here. You separate it, but the implementation from the business logic that worked out great. When I met Selenium and test automation, they started with a few students at the company I worked with, and that was a big mess. And the first thing we did was actually splitting apart the interfaces that you can write the test, and the implementation, and then you can have teams in parallel working, one on the interface and implement the interface, and one writing the test, and it worked out great. So page object is exposing a service. So if we have a DOM element here, DOM and input, it means don't use the real implementation. Who cares if it's an input, a div, I don't know. We don't really care if it's a form or not. We care about the interface. So, and writing code, this is what Selenium gives you, right? Clicking, it gives you the bare metal. Clicking on stuff, opening a browser, that's what Selenium is best in. But a lot of the work you should do. And this is how to do QA. And this is the big part, is how to write your page objects right. So you shouldn't write in your test Selenium code. It says no. So what you have to do is separate it. And let's see example. But before that, I wanted to make sure that if you separate it correctly and you have the interfaces, and you can actually write the tests even before you have the implementation. Because when you have the requirements, usually you have a requirements. Oh, I have a laser. So usually you have a requirements, and then you started engineering the parts, and then you get to the units, and then you unit test, and then you start doing the regression test. But no, you can start the minute you have the requirements. You know what there is, so you can start writing tests. So this helps you out. So TDD is it helps you. So so what we want to do is, when we're talking about exposing a service, it means we want to make our code look as synchronous as it can be, but it still work even though it's not. So we said we have a class, which is the login page, our account, and it has a method called login. And in our code, we should probably write something like this. So, and of course, it says, the compiler says, I'm going to assume Java, but it doesn't really matter. It works, it's just the logic. And it says, okay, when you do the login, what do you do? Do I return something? Do I return void? Do I return, if the login should brings me to the gallery page, should I return a page object for the gallery? Who says void? Who says gallery? Ah. So let's look at both. So the first option we'll have a command that said, let's return void. And so we have the login, which doesn't, it returns void. So we don't know where we are. We don't know if we're in the correct page right now. Did the login succeed? We don't know anything. We don't know if we still have to wait. So we still have those, the source of all evil, which is sleep. This is the source of all evil. That's it. So nobody used sleep. We'll see how to get rid of it. So it has a lot of cons. We don't know where we are. Was it successful or not? We only have one pro, which is the advantage that we have the separation, the basic. We need to. Every class should have its own code. So the login should only concern the login, and the gallery page should concern the gallery. So the only advantage we have is that the login doesn't know about the login, about the gallery page. So, but the second option is let's do the login, and that will return a gallery page. So we'll still have the sleep here, but we'll get used to it. We'll remove it in a second, but that's the next thing we want to do, the gallery, do some action on the gallery. And but this is the thing we want to get rid of. So in this option we have the login. What it does, it just returns the new gallery, which isn't ready yet. But the nice thing about what we can do is, this is the best part. We can actually move the sleep into the login, and which means when you log in, you're going to return the gallery page, but you'll wait until the gallery page is ready, and then you return it. So now we have something that looks synchronously, just like unit tests. You write a new login page. This, actually, the login, it does the login, puts the username, puts the passwords, puts the clicks the submit button, and it waits until the gallery is loaded. So in this situation, we have two sides here, the implementation and the one who's writing the test. The one who's writing the test right now, he can be assured that when you get the gallery page, it's all ready. It's ready. So we can write code, it's synchronously. So we're moving the hard work into the framework, into the page object. So the page object do the whole work, and they know the implementation, and they do know how to do the waiting. And when you write test, it's very, very simple and synchronously. And if you chose the one who chose to use the void because they really want to have the separation, usually you want to have something like this. You want to have like a method which does the waiting for you. Put the waiting in a specific place, because you want to have, the nice thing about software engineering is if you put it all goes down to bytecode, right? So, but you have to write the code in a specific place that if someone has a bug inside, they know exactly where to look. So if we're waiting for a page, so we can let's make a method which waits for the page to load. And of course we can have it as a static method, and actually the best recommended way is if we use the login and you know you're going to the gallery page. Okay, we said return the gallery page, but have the code who knows the gallery, who knows the gallery better than the gallery. So the gallery knows how to wait for the page, but the one who's waiting for it is the login to make it synchronous. So the best idea is actually to combine the best of two worlds. And of course, if every page has the same wait for page, everything is synchronously. You want to have everything synchronously, so you want to have wait for page to be ready in every page. So actually, you'll what you'll probably do is have like a basic page, and all the other classes will derive from the same page, and you'll have it. But make sure it's not static, because then the computer says no, you can't override static methods. So you'll just remove those the static here that everyone wants. Static is also the source of all evil next after the sleep. So don't so you just remove it. So if someone tells you no, it's better practice to use static methods, to say no, just say no. And of course, you put everything it's shared in your base objects. My personal recommendation is actually you can use the constructor, even the page constructor, have the waiting there inside. So in the constructor of the gallery, instead of adding a method called wait till ready, have the constructor do the waiting for you. He knows, that's where you know when you construct the element, that's where he's waiting. He has the driver, and he checks until the page is ready, and only then does he return. So, and of course, always add everything to the page object. So the next thing is you'll find out in unit test, and okay, that's really easy to have more threads. You can have, if I want to have like 20, running the 20 tests, running at the same time concurrently, it's going to be easy because running 20 threads is easy, but running 20 browsers in the same computer, in the same node, it turns out it's not that simple. It's not going to work that well, and especially if you want to have running on IE, and you want to run it on Windows, and you want to run it on Mac, so you can't even run it on the same computer. So what you have here is the Selenium brought you the Selenium Grid, which is everyone familiar. Anyone here knows what Selenium Grid is? So that's great. So we'll see exactly how we use it when we see how Selenium is built, and make sure it's simple. So Selenium supports all the languages you can wish for, and all the operating systems, and now mobile. And what it does that is with a perfect getting close to perfect standard. But how it does that, because you have so many languages and so many implementations, different implementations, how does it work? So what is a good architecture to write the Selenium to have it work in so many ways? So the solution was the wire protocol. So that's the wire protocol. It's HTTP actually. What Selenium does best is the standard. That's it. The standard, that means that it doesn't matter which language you use, it always sends a message in the same way. If you're doing a click, it doesn't matter if it's C# or Ruby. What it does, it sends a message, an HTTP request, to the browser, do the click. And the nice part, there's an adapter on the other side, it's called the drivers, who actually knows how to listen to HTTP requests, and they say, oh, you wanted a click, so I'll do the click. And the Chrome driver is different than the IE driver. So everything is, the implementation of doing a click, it could be different on different browsers. But that's the nice part about Selenium. You can use any language, it converts it to an HTTP request, and you have on the other side, you have those adapters that can change it to the real implementation. So when you write a new Chrome, actually the nice thing is it instantiates something, an object in one side, it's called a binding. This is your machine, your language, and it sends an HTTP request to something called the Chrome driver in our case, which converts it to a click. And the bummer part, the scary part is it doesn't comes with Selenium when you download Selenium. You have to download all this by himself. Who here went and started, downloaded it, Chrome driver, yeah, here, yeah. So when you get started with, when you move to from unit test to test automation, you say, oh, do I have to do this? Really? Wow, no. But by the way, so Protractor is cool. Protractor is it's one level above Selenium. It just helps you with the Angular stuff. But the nice thing about the best part in Protractor, they wrote something simple. It's 300 lines of code. Where it's a module that actually brings you all the drivers and install them. So that's the nice part. You install it, and then you do an update. It gets you the Chrome driver and all the other drivers, and then you can run it. And now you have the Chrome and IE driver, everything. So actually, what we said, so we had something that can download this for us, but now what Selenium Grid, we're talking the big picture again. We want to have it on 2 different computers. So we want to have the command running in one computer, and we want to have a grid of browsers that's letting us do the work. So how this is done, you have a Selenium Grid. You just download and run the command line, and it opens the hub. What the hub does, every computer that now can register itself and tell the hubs, hey, I have an IE and a Firefox here. And another computer can say, I have Chrome and an IE, and I'm on Windows. So every computer can sign up and says, I'm ready for work. And what actually happens is the same code that used to run on one machine now can run without almost any change, can actually work on a grid. It seamlessly works well with a grid. So all you have to do is ask your either your dev guy, DevOps guy, or if you do it yourself, that's great, to hook up the grid. And now the code, the only thing that needs to change in the code is instead of writing new Chrome, which opens the Chromes locally, we now need to ask someone, the Selenium Grid, ask him for a Chrome browser. And what it does when you do those 3 lines is that's what they ask. It says, I know where the hub is. This is the address of the hub. And then I ask him, I want a Chrome with a specific version, and I want to have it on Windows. And then when you do a new remote web driver, you get a reference to that node, and that's it. And the rest it works exactly as the same because they all implement the same interface as driver. So it works. So it doesn't really matter if it's now with different drivers, different machines. It just works. But it's not, Selenium Grid usually is not enough. Why? Because if you want to do it yourself, you can have I never saw IE at least, especially not 6, not 7, not 8, last for more than a week before they crash, and then you don't know what's wrong, so you have to restart the machines. Wait a second. So you have to restart and boot the machines, and of course, people said, okay, that's a big problem, and they have got the commercial, but there's open source. There's people here. Who wrote great, amazing frameworks which can do that as well. They're open source and they're out there, and I sure hope people start using them. But there's another thing I want to talk about, which is visual testing. This is something you're very not custom when you're talking about unit tests. When you're talking about unit tests, usually people talk about checking the code, but code is not the only thing. So we usually ask how many differences can you spot here, and there's a lot. So there's a lot of differences. So, but usually in image, when you look at the pixels, you can have, you can see things that you probably missed. So taking screenshot, looking at the pixels, not just the DOM, it helps you a lot. So, but as they say, don't do this at home. Here, it's something, it's not that simple because you run it the same twice and you get different pixels. I got the thanks you, Moshe, for the screenshots. And you get different results every time you run it. And you say, what? So yeah, so it's not something that it's easily done. And now we get to the, it's something I want to do is just the last part here is, this is the most important part. I'll save it to the last, which is the sleep part. As I said, I used the sleep part earlier, but we said never use the sleep part. So never sleep. So what am I supposed to do? How do I have to coordinate between my test when I do the login? How do I know where the new page is loaded? Does someone has an idea? Oh yeah.
Actually, you don't need for something to end. Actually, what you want is to wait for something you want to do. So if you want to click something, you just need to wait for the button to appear. And that will be enough. And then all the sleeps is done only to wait for element to appear.
Yeah. So this is the first option that we get, which is first option is, this is actually this number 2, is wait for an element is ready. If I need to click a button, so wait till the element is ready, and only then do I proceed. So Selenium added the implicit wait, which helps a lot. So if I have to click on something, if it's available, if it's out there, I want to wait till it's ready, and then I'm going to click it. But usually now you have a lot of Ajax applications, and in Ajax application you might have you might have the button already there. But what happens? You want to click another button, and only when the list fills up, only then you want to right click on the button that was already there. So usually you can do, this is the option number 1 is actually don't wait till the button exists, but when do I have to wait? Let's wait till the list fills up. So I'll click on the load, I'll wait until the list fills up, and only then do I click the button. So we know the button is ready when our state means that when we have a list of items. And the third options is what I like. It's called, no, you won't find those names. I made them up yesterday. So it's the coordinator. The coordinator is wait for a sign. So it depends if you're also the developer or not. In some of the cases, I had the luxury of being the developer and the one who's writing the test. So it's really, really nice. It's really, really great. So you can ask the developers, when I do the upload the list of show me the all members, give me an event that tells me when it's done. When you send an Ajax request, an HTTP request, and it gets back. So just let me know when it's done. So it's actually very, very simple. I'll show you the simple solution, which means we can actually just, all he has to do is just add one line of code, which is send event, which is gallery. Gallery is ready. That's it. And you wait, and there's no, all this sleep, all this big notion about asynchronously code that keeps having flaky tests, they're all gone. So how do we do this thing? So Selenium gives us a wait for element, which is great. If the Selenium has wait for element, so we can use that, and we can write something very, very simple, 4 lines of code, which means wait for event, but actually it's waiting for an event, for an element. So what do? If the test, if your application wasn't just directly on the body, it was inside an app. Usually it's inside an app. You can have only in test. You can have another div. We'll name it test, and people can put there an element with the event name. So what it means when when I want to send an event, that's it. It's two more lines of code. It means when someone wants to send an event, it means you go to the test and you add an element with the class which is the event. So if I want to have an event gallery ready, I'm just adding an element gallery ready. And as we said, the one who's using it, he says wait for gallery ready, which he uses Selenium to just wait till the element is there. And those 4 lines of code we get asynchronously, no more flaky tests. This is very, very simple, but if you can convince your developers to hook it up and tell you exactly what happens, that's great. And questions. So exactly. So, but don't worry. We're everybody here from Selenium. They're all here. If you have, you can. Everything is online. I think yes, from yesterday at 2 a.m. So you can look at the slides, look at examples. Feel free to email, ask questions here or later. How to do stuff. This is the nice part I said about meeting people, about coming to conferences. It's because you meet people, you talk to, they explain how they work, you talk to each other, and you see how everyone's doing something different because they have different situations. So this is the best thing. So thank you.